Yellow tape around his body. It's a fucking homicide.
Got mixed personality. I really do though, Melvin and shit. He been inside of me. Like, he been in, like, mentally, like, inside of me, but I ain't have a name for him, like, when I was in the streets. Until one day, I met Hennessy, and then he was just, I looked in the mirror, he was like, Melvin!
I reloaded my pistol, cocked it back and shot him twice. His body dropped down to the floor and...
All right, Melly is loving, genuine, turned up, happy, and just loving, you know what I'm saying? Michael Jackson. Melly is Michael Jackson. Melvin is just like, once you play with Melly to a certain extent, Melvin just don't like that. Melvin on your ass.
Jamel Demons, a.k.a. YNW Melly, was born on May 1st, 1999, in Gifford, Florida, to his mother, Jamie Demons. Now, growing up, he didn't know his dad, even though a local rapper by the name of Dante the Gift Taylor claims to be his father, but that has never been confirmed. And his mom, she was only 14 years old when she had Melly.
I was terrified. It's like, I was very responsible for myself, and I was like responsible for a whole person and trying not to, you know, mess him up.
They lived in the poorest part of an already poor city. But even though Melly came from extreme poverty in a very tough environment, according to his mom, he was always a good kid. And at the age of 5, he would discover his talent for music at a school play where he stole the show. And it was from that moment that he knew he wanted to be a superstar, just like one of his idols, Michael Jackson. In kindergarten, he would meet YNW Juvie, his day one homie, and a brotherhood would be formed.
I walk in the kindergarten room, I see him, then he just started smiling and dancing, so it just made me happy. Now I want to be here. Every day now I want to be here just because he's here.
As time went on, he would meet YNW Bortland and YNW Sack Chaser during his grade school years, and they would form a very close friendship. And after school, Melly said he would often have to stay with an uncle who he described as a crackhead. And he said one day he was playing with toy guns and he happened to stumble on a real gun, a .22 caliber pistol. He took the gun outside and let off a shot, but it was so loud it caused his ears to ring and he could barely hear for like a week. But according to Melly, he loved the way that it made him feel, the power that he had with the weapon. And from that day forward, he was obsessed with guns. The YNW crew would spend every day together, talking about their dreams, and one day leaving Gifford, Florida. Chris Brown was a major musical influence on Melly, and he said his first album stayed on repeat, and him and his guys would just hang out on the front porch, and Melly would pretend it was a concert and he was performing, because he knew that one day he would be a superstar, and one day he would be your favorite rapper. In middle school, Melly began to gravitate towards the streets, and he joined a blood gang in his city and began carrying guns on a daily basis. And he didn't go to school or anywhere else without it. But even though he had started to move in the streets, he never lost his love for music. And in 2014, he would upload his very first song to SoundCloud.
I'ma try to mess up, nigga talk shit, what's good? We can vest up, get a couple choppers, then we shoot him, maybe change.
But Melly's dreams of musical superstardom would be put on hold because on October 19th, 2015, Melly was charged in a school shooting with 3 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and 1 count of discharging a firearm in public. The story goes, he shot at 3 students because Melly, he said he used to take guns everywhere, including school, and eventually some of the students, they told on him. But while he was being searched, he hid the gun, and those students went and stole that gun, and Melly, he just couldn't let that slide.
Nigga had my gun, you know what I'm saying? I had brought it to school one day, then he told that I had that bitch at school, and then he fought. I guess he had his homeboys follow me. And I guess when I went to the office to get searched, they came back, they doubled back and had the pistol.
On top of that, it was already stuff going on at home. He said the city he was from, it's like crabs in a barrel. People at his home life really wasn't believing in him, and he just had a lot of anger pent up in him. And he said that Melvin had to let that rage out. Melly would be handed a 1-year sentence behind this shooting, but even though he was locked up, he still made the most of his time. He released his mixtape, Collect Call, comprised of songs that he made before he got locked up. And he also kept writing, kept making music, and 2 of the songs that he wrote would be songs that would change his life: Murder on My Mind and Mama Cry.
Please don't you cry, I'm sorry, I just called. Sometime I'll be home soon, it won't be long, I promise.
After being released from prison, Melly vowed that music would become his top priority, but he just couldn't escape the streets. And in February of 2017, he was implicated in the murder of a Florida sheriff, a man by the name of Gary Chambliss. The story goes, Melly and his gang, they was kicking it on a corner, and as the car was driving by, somebody from the group threw a bottle at the car, and that car opened fire, and somebody from the group, they returned fire as well, and a stray bullet struck Gary Chambliss, who was down the block visiting a friend. The crazy twist in this story is that the person in that car was a distant relative of Gary Chambliss, a man by the name of Mikhail Chambliss, and they arrested him for that murder, but the weapon that he had didn't match the bullet that killed Gary, so they never actually charged him in the murder. It remains unsolved to this day, even though authorities have always maintained that they feel Melly played a part in this crime. Later that same year, Melly was arrested again for violating his probation. He would spend several months in jail, but after being released this time, he would finally begin to gain traction in the music industry. He released songs like Blue Balenciagas, For Real, and a song paying homage to one of his big musical influences, Chris Brown, called Slang That Iron.
She's so fucked up by the street. Oh, it's never a wrong time to slang that
YNW Melly's mom has always been his biggest supporter, and that could be seen in that music video because she's front and center, like she's one of the guys, along with his grandmother who could be seen holding a Draco.
I see you from Brazil. It's over here.
That's good, boy. That's good.
Melly's dreams of stardom were on the verge of coming true, and in 2018, he released a mixtape, I Am You, which debuted on the Billboard Top 200. Then he released the street anthem, Murder on My Mind, which peaked at number 14 on the Billboard Top 100.
Because every time I wake up in the morning, I got murder on my mind. AK-47's Mac.
Melly's musical talent was undeniable, and it had taken him from the slums of Gifford, Florida, to the top of the Billboard charts. He was finally able to fulfill a promise that he had made to his mom to get her out of poverty and get her into a nice home, and that's exactly what he did.
It speaks volumes that, you know, he's able to relocate his mom, you know, to something bigger and nicer, and, you know, I'm proud of him.
Melly also bought the YNW Crew along for the ride to the top as well, Young Nigga World, aka Young New Wave, depending on who you ask. But Melly, he was indeed the new wave, and his sound was taking over hip-hop. In the YNW Crew, they were stronger than ever. You could constantly see YNW Juvie and Sack Chaser in all of Melly's vlogs, his videos, and you know, they just look like brothers who found a way to make it out of poverty. And when nobody else in their city believed in them, they believed in each other, and they had finally made it.
Like this, it's crazy.
you know, just to be where I'm at is crazy because they'll never think I'll be here. We all will be here, you know what I'm saying? You got some haters just mad at the success, but now they see it, they just hate it, but they love it at the same time. So it's like both 50-50 in everybody.
They love us and hate us. Like, they happy to see us. They happy to see us when they see us. You know what I'm talking about? We were talking about that jump back in the day. They like,
swipe under.
They want to kill. Them niggas crazy. Rapper, that's what you want to be?
It's been said that YNW made a pact that once they got on, they would split everything 4 ways. They would always be equal, and they would always be brothers. But on October 26, 2018, that brotherhood would be shattered because Christopher Thomas Jr., aka YNW Juvie, and Anthony Williams, aka YNW Sack Chaser, would be brought into Memorial Hospital in Miramar, Florida, with multiple gunshot wounds, including to the head. They were both pronounced dead. YNW Juvie was only 19 years old. YNW Sack Chaser, he was 21 years old. The police would question both YNW Portland and YNW Melly about exactly what happened that night. According to them, they were leaving the studio around 3 a.m., headed home, when an unknown vehicle pulled alongside of them and opened up fire, killing their 2 friends. And when asked who would have a reason to shoot at you and try to kill you, YNW Melly just said that he's a well-known rapper and it was out of hate and envy, which somewhat made sense because the YNW crew often spoke on the jealousy that they faced.
Make you not know who to trust, you know what I'm saying? It's just all crazy now.
It's Florida too, so like, Florida's a very envious state. You see, ain't too many rappers like made it.
Melly would take to social media to pay respect to his fallen brothers and vow to carry on the YNW name, and that's exactly what he did. He continued to drop new music, getting millions of fans, hundreds of millions of streams on different music platforms, hundreds of millions of video views on YouTube. Everybody wanted to interview him, sold out shows. Melly had the world in the palm of his hands. Everything that he dreamed of since he was a little boy was finally coming true. But on February 13, 2019, YNW Melly would shock the hip-hop world when he turned himself in to the Miramar Police Department, where he was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, and he was facing the death penalty.
So, Mr. Demons, you're facing 2 counts of premeditated murder, and the court does find probable cause.
YNW Portland would be arrested in Texas, and he was extradited back to Florida, where he also was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. The Miramar Police Department will release a statement saying that they had evidence that contradicts the story of YNW Melly and YNW Portland, stating that not only did they have ballistics evidence showing that the shooting came from inside of the vehicle, they also had cell phone tower records and DNA evidence. The police also claimed that after killing their 2 best friends, they drove around with the dead bodies, trying to figure out their next move. But the question still remained, what reason would YNW Melly have to killing his 2 day one homies? What could cause a friendship to be destroyed in such a violent, bloody way? The same thing that has destroyed a lot of people: money, power, and greed. There's a lot of different theories on what exactly happened, what exactly could cause Melvin to come out in Melly. But the main theory is that YNW Sack Chaser wanted to run the YNW crew. There were stories that he could have even been extorting Melly to an extent, threatening his mom. And these stories are backed up by an Instagram Live that YNW Melly's own mom did.
Showed me text messages from Sack Chaser threatening all her friends and all these people, like he's about this life. But I'm saying, like, who the fuck you ever robbed? Who the fuck you ever shot at? What the fuck you ever did? nigga, you couldn't even take a fucking weed charge. If you don't sit your pussy ass down and don't ever come for me, because my credentials is real. It ain't even a joke. So don't ever try to come for me, because I don't even play them type of games. Like, what the fuck you got that I ain't got? Oh, you threaten me with your little gun? Bitch, I got big guns.
And when it comes to the death of YNW Juvie, Melly's friend since he was 6 years old, it's said that after seeing Sack Chaser be murdered, he went crazy. He didn't approve of it, like, yo, we brothers, what are you doing? And as a way to silence him, he was also murdered. It seemed to be very spontaneous and not planned, and that's the reason that they drove around with the dead bodies for a while before they actually took him to the hospital. That's just a theory, but in all reality, only 4 people know exactly what happened that night, and unfortunately, 2 of those people are no longer with us. YNW Portland was arrested, but later released on pretrial bail, where he remains to this day. YNW Melly, he's in Broward County Jail, awaiting his day in court. On the bright side, he does have the lawyer that got Little Boosie off of a death row rap, so maybe he got a fighting chance. But his trial date is coming soon, and the public will finally have their answer on if YNW Melly is a wrongfully accused man that's innocent and should be freed immediately, or if that evil side of Melvin came out and YNW Melly really did have murder on his mind.